This is Pinkietessa's A-Z of London. Voila! C for Cleopatra's Needle. It's located on the Thames Embankment, close to the Embankment tube station. It is an original obelisk, however it has little connection to Cleopatra. Obelisks were often one of a pair, and this is absolutely no exception. The other resides in Central Park, New York, and was transported much at the same time. It seems the Egyptians were handing them out wholesale. What a hoot! The needle was originally made for the pharaoh Ptolemy over 3,500 years ago. Obelisks were cut in one piece out of red granite from one of the quarries in Aswan. By the 12th century BC, the Romans had moved the pair of obelisks to a temple in Alexandria that Cleopatra had built in honour of Mark Antony, and that is the only connection between the two. One of the monoliths was toppled sometime later and buried by sand, and that is why the hieroglyphs are so well preserved. So how did this monument end up in London? Well, it was presented to the UK in 1819 by the Egyptian ruler Muhammad Ali to commemorate the victories at the Battle of the Nile and Alexandria. They were welcome gifts, but the British government were not much up for the cost of transportation. Thereby, it wasn't until 1877 when Dr. Erasmus Wilson, later knighted, hang on, there's a pattern developing here, stamped up the 10,000 of the £15,000 required to ship the monolith to Blighty. The remaining 5,000 came by public subscription. A special iron cigar-shaped container ship was designed and made by John Dixon, a well-known engineer of the era. The container was imaginatively named the Cleopatra. Several items were added to aid its balance in the water, plus a cabin for a crew of 6. It was to be towed by the steamer Olga, and the bear was bulgy, the bulge was algae. Someone somewhere will know that poem like me. You'd imagine it was plain sailing back to London, but you'd be quite wrong. By the October of 1877, the Cleopatra was nearly lost in the Bay of Biscay. Sadly, men's lives were. Once recovered and repaired, the consignment was towed to England and up the Thames to the cheers of the British public. Hurrah! On the 12th of September 1878, Cleopatra's Needle was winched into its present position on the Thames. The needle sits on a pedestal in which are contained 2 earthenware pots, a time capsule with weird and wonderful pieces of Victoriana, a comment on the times only a Victorian could make. Around the base of the obelisk are mounted 4 plaques detailing the journey to London and listing the 6 men who died in the Bay of Biscay. The needle stands 68 feet high, with a base of 8 by 6 foot. It weighs about 180 tons. All the 8s then. The Egyptian hieroglyphs on the side celebrate Ramesses II's military victories and were added some 200 years after it was cut from the quarry at Aswan. Either side of the obelisk are 2 19th century large bronze versions of sphinxes. Ain't they grand? They bear the hieroglyphic inscriptions, the good god Ptolemy II given life. Apparently, the bronze statues would be guarding the monolith if they faced outward, but they are positioned facing inward, and this merely indicates they are regarding the needle. A practice of positioning lost on me, but now I know I'll be the Mr. and Mrs. Arbiter of positioning from now on. Have no fear. Here's some shrapnel damage on the right-hand sphinx. It occurred during a German air raid on the 4th of September 1917. Yes, I did say 1917. It remains in situ to commemorate the incident. The benches along this section bear the apt decoration of winged sphinxes. Rest assured your arm for an Egyptian experience. Restoration work was carried out in 2005 and again in 2010. Wouldn't you, Adam and Eve, it just when I popped by to do some filming on the first occasion. First occasion? Second occasion. The monument is said to be haunted. Screaming has been heard coming from its depths, and it has been purported to be the scene of a ghostly figure jumping from it into the river's depths. Oh wow, golly gosh and all that. And that rather screamingly is my C for Cleopatra's fabulous needle.